It was the summer of 2024, and the Lee family went to Alaska. Our wonderful matriarch brought us together to celebrate her 60th birthday, beginning in Vancouver, Canada. There were beautiful flowers. There were beautiful rocks. There were beautiful wildlife. There was beautiful ducks. There was beautiful geese. Beautiful boats that were crashed on the rocks. Beautiful everything to see. We walked about 25 miles each day, seeing the art, the lighthouses, and also a bunch of seagulls that were eating starfish in their mouths. More flowers. We went to the top of a tower and were able to see the entire city. We went to the Space Center and then we were off to the gardens, which Bill Clinton and Boris Yeltsin met in these gardens, and we admired all of the various roses that they had out and about. There was a lot in bloom. My mom bought a potato on a stick, and that was very spiced. We finished up with Vancouver and went on the cruise ship. One of the favorite highlights was the food, and we had a lot of it. Here was one of our first meals together as a family, waiting for the cruise ship to depart. It was beautiful and sunny in Vancouver. We loved the sunset, and it quickly got cold when we got into Alaskan territory. My mom had bought us all hats, so we were able to stay warm. It was also rainy. We went to Ketchikan first and were able to walk around their city. This is the salmon capital of the world, and had on rain jackets. We went through the woods. It was amazing, covered in a lot of moss and green. And Tyler, Brandon, myself, and my mom went up to go see all of the different waterfalls that were there. And we had a very good time checking them out. Our guide said that this water you could drink from because it is completely untouched. And we did and did not get any diarrhea, so that is pleasant. We also spent a lot of time picking berries in Ketchikan. These are salmon berries, and they were delicious. Not as tart as a raspberry or blackberry. And Rachel also picked some fiddlehead ferns. We saw a bear, we saw a bear, we saw a bear, we saw a bear. He went and grabbed a salmon and then went under the walkway that you see those people on and ate his salmon. Good for him. Or her. The family finished up our expedition through the woods and went back to the town where I had amazing grilled salmon and we had some seafood platters. We also visited the native reservation and saw this carving of Abraham Lincoln, who helped create peace between tribes, and admired the different art there. The next place we went to was Juneau, the capital of Alaska. We started at the Capitol building, seeing the seal and the different politicians that work there or have worked there, and the building where they all meet. There was several historical images of Congress approving statehood, and then also some art that I really appreciated, including these yo-yos. We walked around Juneau, a beautiful town surrounded by these dramatic waterfalls in the mountains, and we found a nice walkway right by some of the waterfalls where my mom, my brothers, my sister, and I went and did a walk and really enjoyed seeing the different rocks and the waterfall that close. Mom examined some of the moss, and we spent some time admiring mushrooms. And then, of course, as we went back into town, we admired a lot of the different flowers. So many of these houses in Juneau had very well cultivated lawns and these absolutely gorgeous displays. And I took a lot of pictures of them because I love a flower, as did my mom. And Brandon also had some time with the honeysuckle eating the nectar. My mom thought that those boots were cute. I thought that this wasp was quite interesting. And then my sister loves llamas and alpacas, so we stopped to take some pictures there when we got back into town. We also went to a Russian Orthodox church, which was the oldest structure made by Europeans on this island. And there were even more pretty flowers. We went into the grocery store, and my mom found that head. We pet the dog that was available to us, and then also admired this dog in the window. We then went on a tour of Juneau and stopped by the governor's mansion for a quick pic, and then went to this lookout where bald eagles looked at us. Bald eagles are everywhere in Alaska, was what we learned from this trip. But it was very cool as people that don't normally see bald eagles to see them. We kept on making our way, and on our way, happened to run into a couple of bears.
Oh my goodness, there's two. Two? Oh my gosh, it's funny. Oh, they're playing now.
No, they just probably don't like us.
Hold still.
Oh, bye-bye. The next place we went to was a salmon hatchery where they had the fish ladder, and there were so many salmon. We watched them from the top. You could also see them from the bottom and side of their tank swimming along, and they would jump up in the air to try to get over the different ladder points. But there were, thousands of fish here. Tyler said I just doubled the count of fish I've seen in my life, and I completely agree. There were so many. And they had actually closed the hatchery, so they're just trying to get up where they can't. We also went to a creek where the salmon were, and this is much more of the natural environment. It was very interesting because it was lower tide. They had not a lot of room to work with on these rocks, but still continued to try to get up further to where they were born in order to do their spawning.
Get there. Nice.
They look quite derpy at times, but we really enjoyed watching these little salmon guys, and then also the bald eagles that were getting their dinner in via these salmon. So there's 2 juveniles and an adult bald eagle. They were, of course, soaring ahead and enjoying the easy-to-get salmon right there from the creek. And we saw marmots. Look at this little marmot. And it has babies. So there's one baby getting snipped, and then there's another around the corner there that you can see on top of a rock. And they were just in the most picturesque place, but enjoying each other's company as we admired them. Marmot. We love a marmot. We see a marmot. We admire the marmots. Marmot. Adorable marmot. Bye-bye. And then there was a cool tree branch that looked like a bird. And here's the natural birds, of course. We went and admired the glacier from several different angles, and I really liked this fireweed that was beginning to bloom and just the majesty of when the clouds finally parted and you can see the glacier and also the tops of all of these very tall mountains. My brothers took to warming up in the hot tub and also getting even more food whenever possible. Our next port was Skagway, the site of the gold rush. And this was a interesting small little town. Here's me as a goldsmith, and we got some delicious funnel cake-esque food and admired the people that made the gold rush happen here in Skagway. There were beautiful flowers, different flowers, poppies, and a lot of bright lilies around the town. So admired those before we went on the White Pass Railroad. This train actually ends up going to nowhere. It turns around at the top of the mountains, actually in Canada, but along the way were beautiful sights, including my mom. This caboose that you can actually stay in. This is a site where people died out of a boulder, and this is the original trail in 1898 that people walked on. As we went up, we were surrounded by clouds and waterfalls and rivers. We saw Inspiration Point, which they said is a great place to see all the surrounding mountains, but it was very, very foggy, so we mostly saw bridges that were clouded over. This one in particular had a collapse at some point, and also different trees. Here is where the mountain patrol is, and the top of the mountain was actually pretty flat. We passed into the Canadian side of this area. Some very clear blue water was there, and then we did a turnaround and went right back the way we came. It was very chilly at the top of this mountain. See, my mom no longer quite as free and flying, but still happy nevertheless. And we're crossing over beautiful blue water, seeing how the power of erosion exists within these mountains, and had a lovely time just admiring the scenery before my dad, my brothers, and my sister went home, and my mom and I went on a hike where we saw what we thought was a wolf. Oh my gosh, this was at the very beginning. We were terrified, but turns out it was just a little friendly dog off leash. His owner was about 20 feet back. Throughout this hike, my mom and I saw some beautiful moss, and we ended up by the side of a lovely lake. My mom got rid of one of the rocks she'd picked up here, and a nice gentleman took our picture together, which was very kind. This was a nice break from seeing the blue glacier water. This was much more of an emerald water, and we also saw a little bit more life. We really didn't see a lot of bugs while in Alaska, so that slug was a big deal. And then it was just beautiful to see all the wildflowers in bloom next to this lake. A little sneaky waterfall was there as well, and it was just such an emerald area. Then my mom and I went to a saloon, and we did the tour of the site to learn more about how prostitution existed in this mining town. Something interesting is that they kept dolls of the girls' likenesses so that the men could choose who they wanted to be with, and then they would lay down the dolls when they were in use. They also had Lysol, which would be used for douching. Kind of interesting. Our fourth port and my favorite was Sitka. We went on a boat. It was very, very rainy outside, so we found one that had a covered area, but did spend a lot of time outside admiring the different wildlife. Here is the family enjoying our snacks and the hats my mom got for us. We were surrounded by beautiful landscape. It looked a lot like Maine to me, but also a bunch of animals. So here's an eagle on a rock, and then we saw sea lions up close and personal. The entire time we went bark, 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 bark.
Hello.
We did all of our sea lion noises, and got very close and circled them. They were adorable, so cute, having the best time just hanging up on this buoy. I wanted to take one home, but unfortunately, we did not have room. And then we went off and saw these seals. So they're a little bit further in the distance, but took over the different rocks. And then we were around gray whales. These are baleen whales, and there were actually 3 of them that we got to see.
Oh, they're meeting up. Kith. Kith, kith. Their tails come up when they dive, so then we wouldn't really see them for a little. They're diving together. Wow, gorgeous. So they can... From pictures that went, oh, look at that
After saying goodbye to all of the whales as they dove under, we went to go see the humpbacks. Out in the distance was a mom and a baby humpback whale doing a lot of movement. In particular, the baby was jumping quite a bit. Although my video is a little shaky and a little rainy, this was super exciting. We saw humpback whales in Maui when Cooper and I visited, but we had not seen them up in their other location because they migrate from Maui back up to Alaska every year for their breeding and then their birthing processes. So this little guy was just having so much fun next to his mom, and we really enjoyed getting to see this. Super duper lucky.
That was amazing.
Our final stop was by a river where we saw some fishermen catching the salmon that was going upstream. They were using the nets. You could actually get one of these nets at Costco. We saw them there. And look at him go.
Oh, now he's got to feed it to death.
After seeing the wildlife from above, we went into a science center and were able to go into the touch tank and then see in aquariums all different creatures that live in the Pacific that aren't visible from the surface. Our next day, we saw the Hubbard Glacier from the cruise ship. This was huge, the 76-mile long glacier. We got within probably a mile of the side of it. It was very chilly, but beautiful colors, crazy stripes throughout the ice face, and it was very cold. The cruise ship dropped us off at Seward, our final stop. We saw some wonderful carving and art, also a lot of fish and some flowers. And then we made the drive up to Anchorage because that's where we were flying out of. So all the kids went to a brewery that my sister was excited about.
Arrow's getting aired out right now. And there's my brothers. Woohoo!
And she was excited because she knows the artists that they use for their merchandise. We went to a mall and I took some pictures with some of my favorite friends and then had a nice flight right before my flight. And that was Alaska and Vancouver and the grand experience. Thank you, Mom, for taking us. This was amazing.